Leach, creator of smartainvestors.com and Hickory Creek Capital Partners. I wanted to talk about a subject today that really got me started. Got me started investing in real estate over 20, almost 25 years ago. Really lit a fire under me in my career and how I was doing things. And I hear about this all the time. And I wonder if you've noticed it as well. Whenever I listen to a podcast and there's a new real estate investor or somebody that's being interviewed and they ask them, how'd you get started? I would say over half of them will mention a book. It's a book, and it's a purple book, and it was written by a guy that you're going to recognize. It's Robert Kiyosaki, and you may not recognize Robert Kiyosaki. And let me tell you, if you haven't read any of his stuff, some of it's a little bit controversial, but it got me started. But here's the thing. Everybody, you think I'm talking about a book called Rich Dad Poor Dad, right? That's not the book I'm talking about. The book I'm talking about was actually the book that followed Rich Dad Poor Dad, called The Cash Flow Quadrant. And what I want to talk, this book, I couldn't believe it. This book is copyrighted in 1998. But what's in this book pertains more to what's going on today than it ever has. If you don't learn some of the principles in this book, you simply aren't going to be able to meet the financial goals you have for yourself. I honestly believe that if you're only investing with a 401k, if you're only using Roth IRAs and government sponsored plans, which have a restriction on how much you can put in them every year, and then they force you to just basically use Wall Street investments, um, I don't think you're going to be able to meet your financial goals. I think we've crossed that point. I'm not sure when, but seeing what inflation's doing, seeing the headwinds that we're up against. I did a video the other day about the three biggest enemies. I'm going to go ahead and jot those down because you need to know these, okay? The three biggest enemies to our financial, our wealth or our accumulation of wealth. Three biggest enemies: taxes. Number one, did you know the Boston Tea Party was fought, was the Revolutionary War was fought over a penny. The Boston Tea Party got started because of a penny tax, 1 penny. That's it. Today we endure 30, 40, 50% taxes, and nobody's revolted. And well, actually we did. January 6th was a good try. But anyway, we've got taxes, we've got interest. Holy cow, what do you mean interest? Well, the funny thing is, everybody knows who's behind taxes. It's the government's behind taxes. It's the banks that are behind interest. We're talking about mortgage interest, automobile, car loans, credit card companies. The banks are behind interest. And I don't even know, I guess I do know who to blame this one on. Inflation. The founding fathers warned us against a central bank. They told us not to create a Fed or a central bank. We did anyway. And now we have inflation, which just means the price of goods is rising faster than the money you can earn. So those are our three enemies. Let's get that out of the way. But what we need to talk about is the cash flow quadrant. Okay. So on the cash flow quadrant, of course, you have different quadrants. Duh. But let's talk about what these are. Okay. Everybody almost is born into the E. Okay. E is employee. It's just a simple employee. It could be your first job at McDonald's or whatever that was, making that W-2, bringing home that money. And I remember bringing home that check and being a single kid, a student, they really don't take that much in taxes out. So they kind of juice you on it, right? And then they hit you later in life when you don't have many deductions, you don't have any kids and write-offs. Everybody starts off as an E. Unfortunately, E's pay the absolute most tax that an individual can pay in this country. So E's start to feel a little bit oppressed, and they get tired of working for the man, and they say, by God, I can do it better than the man. I'm going to go become self-employed. Now, some people go to school a long time and come into the marketplace as self-employed physicians, doctors. So these self-employed people, they're not just guys out there doing it on their own. These are companies that are formed and individuals that are very smart. They're making a lot of money. Let me go back up here because you may get a misinterpretation of the E quadrant. There are some very high earning E's out there. Okay. It is not unheard of for the C suite executives, the COO, the CEO, the CFO. These guys are making six, seven, some of them even eight figures. They're high paid employees. Okay. And that really is who I target, because most of those individuals don't understand some of these things. They're really good at what they do, but they may not have a financial mind, and they run to financial advisors who don't even teach them this. But anyway, we talked about the self-employed. That's individuals that really have their own business. They may have a few employees, but for the most part, they're self-employed. If they go on vacation, guess what? Not a whole lot happens. When the chiropractor goes on vacation, if he doesn't have anybody else in the office, everybody goes on vacation, right? The self employed chiropractor. So the next step is essentially a business owner. This is a guy who sits at the top, has a lot of employees. He can go to the beach and his business runs like clockwork. Okay. He's trained people to take care of things. Business owners do have quite a bit more tax freedom because they're providing jobs, because they're providing income. They can get some more write-offs. And then finally, you have the investor quadrant. And the beautiful thing about the investor quadrant is they have the ability to pay zero taxes. Now, we are hearing today that everybody wants to tax these guys up here. It's really funny because these guys kind of are protected. You may not hear about the carried interest. Uh, the government was coming after the carried interest on investors. It got through. Business owners, they get thrown under the bus. They say that they're billionaires that aren't paying their fair share. They need to tax corporations. Unfortunately, if you tax this guy, you know what he's going to do? He's going to raise the prices on this guy. So he's got you. He's got, he's got you. You tax him, he's going to raise it on employees, and he's going to make everybody else miserable because he's going to pass those taxes along in prices. It's really silly when people are saying tax the businesses, tax the corporations. They're just going to raise the price they're charging you, folks. Okay. So we have to accept that this is real. This exists. It's always been like this. How can we use this to our advantage? If I'm an employee, does that mean I have to become an investor? I have to quit and figure out how to flip houses or how to buy duplexes and rent them and do all these different things. And unfortunately, that's what people do. They honestly do go to weekend seminars and they think I'm going to buy an apartment building, and they get into really high level real estate deals, and then an economy makes a turn or interest rates go from 3 to 7.5% like they have in the last year, and that guy gets it handed to him on a platter. So some of these people are trying their hardest to get over to the I quadrant, but there's safer and easier ways to get to the I quadrant. But the reason you should be wanting to get to the I quadrant is not, most people just want to get here because the I quadrant, man, they get to enjoy any kind of like 10 to, let's say they enjoy 10 to 25% returns on their investments. They really do. That's why this guy is always clamoring to get over here. What he needs to be clamoring to get over here for is that. Let me show you why. Let's take a high income earning E, okay? He is a COO. He's a COO of a big corporation, and he makes $500,000 a year. That's a lot of money. An E, he's bringing home that much money. What is that? Something like 40 grand a check, a little bit more than 40. That's a lot of money, right? Could be an attorney in a really big firm, making that kind of money, bringing that home. Surely to goodness, we can go back to basic finances. Hopefully, he's putting away a good part of that. If you're making that much money, you should be able to put at least 100,000 a year away, maybe 150 away. That, um, but how much is the government going to take from this guy? That's the question. So what he's trying to do, in what his CPA and what his financial planners trying to do, they're trying to make him look smaller in the eyes of the IRS. But he makes 500 grand a year. So how do we use all this? Um, this guy, if he does nothing, I think he's going to pay 25% in taxes this year. He's going to lose 125K if he doesn't do something. So what happens? His financial planner says you got to do a 401k, and the 401k was brought about just to prop Wall Street up. It gets more money into Wall Street. This has only been around since the 80s. 401k. And you know what? You make so much daggone money, we got to get you in an IRA. And it doesn't matter if it's a Roth or whatever. They're trying to get him in all kinds of a medical savings account. Anything they can do. They're trying to get this guy's income down. Because if he'll put some money in a 401k, he can bring that down to, what if he puts 50 in a 401k? I'm not even sure what they allow you to put in a 401k this year, but if he can put 50 in there, that's first he gets the standard deduction. I think that's 28k. Okay. Gets the standard deduction. Then he puts 50 in a 401k. Okay. Then he tries to backdoor into a Roth IRA or whatever. Let's say he can get another 20 in there. He's trying to whittle at that 500k. He's got a 10k. Before you know it, he maybe have this 500k down to 400, 420. He's still paying. He's probably still in a bracket that's giving him. He probably saved 25k in taxes. He's going to still pay 100k. I'm not going to do all that math, but hopefully you can follow that. Okay. He feels like he's done the best he can, and what the government did. This is what's so sneaky. That 100k he's losing, he didn't have to write a check. Let me tell you, if you own a business, or maybe if you're self-employed, you know the pain of writing a check to the IRS. You know the quarterly check. If me, I'm having to write 25k every quarter to the IRS. That's pain. When you see that, that's what gets you to start thinking like this. You've got to get from the employee section over here to make some investments. And I'm going to show you what I would tell this guy to do right away. He needs to look, this guy could zero out his income, but I would not scare him since he should be putting 150 to 200,000 a year. I would tell this high earning employee he needs to come over here and he needs to make a $200,000 investment in oil and gas. Now, you probably think, Kent, you just won't shut up about oil and gas. But right now, oil is $75, $80 a barrel. Everybody's talking about there is so much pressure against oil. Banks, if they make a loan to an oil explorer, they can get shunned in the industry. The government is all the green people and Greta, what's her name? All these people will make you feel like trash for drilling for oil. When everything you see in behind me, this was created with oil. The camera that's filming this was created with oil. Not to mention, we're not going to get off. Oil is a primary energy source. Solar and wind are not. And let me tell you, it takes energy to power the battery. Anyway, we're not getting off oil that quick. Oil's not going away. And an investment in oil right now is strong because oil many times is inverse to what's going on in real estate. We've seen that in the past. So let's just get off of oil and gas. And first of all, he doesn't need to. This is what happens. This guy goes out, he talks to the first person he can, he jumps in an oil and gas deal that's terrible with an unproven operator, a small operator that doesn't know what they're doing, a speculation deal where they just go flip a coin and drill. I'm not talking about that. That's why you need somebody to guide you through this. You need somebody that has the connections to get you in the best oil and gas deals that are out there. The ones with the really big operators, the ones who just tag along with ExxonMobil or ConocoPhillips or whoever. So 200,000 in oil and gas. I just did this. I just got my K1 back the other day. $100,000 investment in oil and gas will give. Well, I'm not going to say will give. It gave me an $80,000 write-off. Okay. And that $80,000 write-off. So here's what we're talking about. We're talking that will reduce your W-2 income. So you probably have heard of depreciation in the real estate world, and that's how you can depreciate and you can get out of some taxes. Now, I'm talking about a write-off against your W-2. Or if this guy was self-employed, or if he was a business owner, any income, or if he had capital gains from selling a property, $83,000 write-off. So what does that really mean? So if I made 100 grand a year in the eyes of the IRS, I now make 17. Is that right? 17K is the only wash there. So this guy right here, he is going to get a $166,000 write-off. You bring that over here, and he immediately, with that investment, has knocked his income down. And he may still have a lot of these. Unfortunately, I don't think he should, but he may still have these. But if he would go ahead and allocate 200,000 over here, he could enjoy that monster write-off. And let me tell you, he can zero out that 500K if he wants to. I wouldn't tell him to do it on the first time. I want him to stick his toe in and get an idea of what it's about. So he's getting a huge write-off. And let me tell you, this gets me. Let me tell you what happened when he went to his CPA at first. This employee walks into the CPA, his tax CPA, and the guy says, "Man, you need a write-off. You need to go buy something. Go buy one of these 6,000-pound Discovery Land Rovers, and we can write that turkey off." So what does he do? He takes his good hard-earned income and goes and spends $90,000 on a Land Rover so that he can write it off. Was that a good reason to go spend 90 grand? No. Why didn't he do this? Why didn't he go buy an asset? Buy an asset. We're not even talked about. We're just talking about the tax benefits of making that investment. The truth is, right now, and I'm seeing it, folks, he can get, if it mirrors the deal I'm in right now, this $200,000 investment could be back in his pocket in 12 to 18 months. Not years, months. He could potentially double this $200,000 investment to $400,000 in 3 to 5 years. 3 to 5 years. So not only did he not go buy some stupid vehicle he didn't need just because it was so heavy weighted and all that, he has an investment that's putting money back into his system. And we're not even talking about the rest of the system that needs to be built out. We're dealing with taxes. How do we deal with interest? Well, if you know me, you know where I'm going with this. It's infinite banking. We're building out a system. And the thing about it is, if you get over onto this side of infinite banking, there's a world over there that exists. It exists independent of this. I'm trying to bring these two worlds together and show you this guy should be funding policies, whole life policies. He should be taking policy loans and buying investments. Those are throwing cash back into the system. Someday I'll do a really good talk on that. But let's not get off track. Let's talk about how you, as a high earning employee, can get some money over here into the investor quadrant and where you can enjoy these great savings and these great tax benefits and returns, because we do want these nice returns. But my goodness, if we can flip, y'all realize what we've done here? If we could flip just 50,000, he's going to pay taxes unless he zeroes this out. Let's say we just flip 50K. Instead of paying 50K, let's move 50K over here. So it's $100,000 swing. He could get this down and only pay. He could save 100,000 here easily. It's a $200,000 swing if he comes over and invests that. Then he kills two birds with one stone, gets a huge write-off, and then we hope, it's not guaranteed, we hope that the investment will double in 3 to 5 years, which is very possible. It may not. If it doesn't, he still has a huge write-off. Even if it just gives him his money back over the next 5 or 10 years, it's done a great service to him and his finances. I can tell you right now, it doesn't take long on an income like this. And I know I'm not talking, a lot of people don't have an income like that, but it doesn't take long when you reverse the headwinds. If you're flying an airplane into a 100-mile-an-hour headwind and your airplane can go 100 miles an hour, what are you effectively doing? You're just stalled in the air. The best thing you can do, the best thing that person can do is land that airplane, get down, and wait for the weather and wait for the wind to change. So what if he does get on the ground and waits and the wind actually switches direction? He gets back up in the air. He's got an airplane that can go 100 and he's got a 100-mile-an-hour wind behind him. He's going 200 miles an hour. He's going to get to his destination twice as fast. Not actually twice as fast, infinitely fast, because he was going 0. This is so powerful. And I'm going to say something that you may not have heard anybody say. Because of these 3 headwinds today, you will not meet your financial goals. I don't care what your financial planner or what your CPA says or how much money you put in a 401k. If you're putting 100 grand a year in a 401k at what Dave Ramsey says the stock market does, which I think is 8 to 10%, which I don't believe it, and then you pay taxes out of that, you will not win. You will not have a comfortable retirement. You will not be able to do the things you want to when you're retired during the golden years of your life. We're living longer. We're fighting more diseases, and we have to have more money. And if you don't jump on board and learn how to fight these, it is not going to be a pretty picture. We live in a world of scarcity when we need to step into a world of abundance. This is how you do it, by understanding it doesn't matter where you are. I've got friends that own $1 million businesses that still don't understand this. Now, give them credit. Their business is making a lot of money, but they don't understand this. And they're paying a lot of taxes. They still make a lot of money. Doesn't matter if you've got a jet that can go 500 miles an hour. If you're flying into this headwind, you're still losing. Why wouldn't you reverse these forces and get them behind you and create some tailwind and let that help you? Because this guy can, let me tell you, making that much money, this guy can retire early. If he figures this out, he can retire 10 to 15 years early, depending on when he figures this out. If he keeps making that kind of money, he can retire early, or he can retire with a lot more money than he ever imagined. And at the end of the day, you do have to have a sum of money to be able to live off of. Infinite banking will help with that. But it also helps to have a big old nest egg, a big old chunk of money that you've accumulated, and making wise investments, making tax advantage investments will help get you there faster. So where are you at on the quadrant? And do you understand why it's so important to become an investor, to become somebody that is looking and not just investing in 401ks and Wall Street and IRAs and Roth and medical savings, and not just trying to play the slow game over here? You're going to get out of the employee bracket. You're going to come down. And listen, I'm not saying you got to quit your job. This guy doesn't need to quit his job. He's making a killing. Why would he ever quit? All he needs to do is learn how to cross over and play in the investor quadrant and get these benefits. You don't need to sell your business. You don't need to quit and hand in the keys. You just need to figure out how to play this game. It's real easy. I can teach you how. I love talking about it. Comment below the video what you think of this, where you're at, where you want to be. Any questions about Rich Dad Poor Dad or the Cash Flow Quadrant, 2 of my favorite books. They started me on my investing journey. Again, if you don't know who I am, my name's Kent Leach. I have smartainvestors.com. I teach investors how to access these. Not only that, I go and curate these deals. My friends and I are out there searching for these deals, and we're sharing these opportunities with our members and our friends and family. So if that interests you at all, comment below and let's get on the phone and talk about becoming an investor no matter where you're at. Hope you guys have a great day today.